as we know, iTunes or Apple released a new version of iTunes last week, I believe, iTunes 10, and with it they released their Ping, which is social networking for music based fully on iTunes. So I figured I'd do a quick walkthrough. Just up front, I'm not so much an iPod user. I use iTunes because I use a Mac. iTunes is the easiest thing to use. I actually use my Droid phone as my music player at this point. I have an iPod. I don't use it a whole lot anymore. I've never used Zune in the capacity with the actual player and everything. I've played with the software a little bit. But a lot of comparisons from some news markets have compared this as supposed to be kind of a replacement for Zune or a competitor to the Zune social service. I actually use Last.fm as my social service for music. So there's lots of options out there, but this is just Apple's take on it. So I'm going to kind of do it from scratch. I haven't actually even been into the service yet. I figured I'd do from sign up through initial impressions for it. So this is the iTunes 10 interface, and we'll make this a little bit bigger, just easier to see. And we'll go right into Ping here. I'm already signed into my iTunes account because I did have iTunes. I do have an iTunes account. I've used it in the past for music purchases. So this is the initial screen, social network for music, join conversation. And I guess we just turn on Ping here. And session timeout. That's always a good start. All right, let's kick over to the iTunes store. Let's try again. Go to the home for the iTunes store here. Ping. All right. Get started. And turn on Ping. There we go. So it's going to ask me to sign in if I can remember my password. It's an awful lot of accessing the iTunes store just to turn on a small little social networking service. Must be like, I don't know if it's building like some sort of index of my music that's on my machine. I know I've got like 60 gigs of music on this laptop. Let's give it a second here. There we go. Terms of service, blah 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 blah. Read and agree. I don't think anybody reads this stuff. It's probably a good idea to actually read this stuff. I think this is more for the iTunes store, not necessarily just for Ping, but I don't read it. I don't actually use it that much anymore. I use Amazon MP3. So it gives you some basic, asks you for some general information. There's nothing bad here, so I don't worry too much about cutting this out. So you can set your gender, add a photo. So then we can add, I'm assuming they pulled this from somewhere on my computer. So that is my picture. That's my typical picture anyway. Blah blah. I'm not going to do an about me, just because I'm not going to use this service probably after this little walkthrough here. Continue. Alright, choose how your music is displayed in your profile. Do you want it to display music you rate preview? Manual pick the music display and don't display music I like. I'm just going to leave it on automatic. I'm assuming that's what most people would do. It'd be a pain to have to go through and pick all the music you want to display in your profile. I'm assuming this is going to be kind of like Last.fm and it'll kind of randomly choose stuff, but we'll find out. Alright, and we want people to allow people to follow me. That's fine. You can require approval, and you can tell it to not allow people to follow you at all. Alright, so here's the basic Ping interface. Got some recommended stuff here. I'm not sure exactly why. Some of this stuff. Daddy Yankee, I don't even have any Daddy Yankee music in my library at all. And I don't think I have a whole lot of, I mean, I've got some hip hop, but not a whole lot of reggaeton or anything like that I think would kind of match up a little bit better to that, but that's just me. So it's got some recommendations. You can search for people. You can invite friends, your profile, reviews that you've written. I wonder if this pulls in the iTunes stuff that you've written, because I have a couple of reviews on iTunes. Reviews and ratings. It is. So that is nice. These are a couple of reviews I wrote in the iTunes store, and it actually pulled them in automatically. So that's kind of cool. People featured. I'm assuming people is probably people you follow, which obviously I don't follow any because I just started. And featured. It's got some featured artists. One of the things that I've heard, I haven't actually read a whole lot of reviews on this yet, but one of the things I've heard is that there's a very small amount of artists that have opted into this so far, and also for you to actually follow. And then also the music that it ties into has to be in the iTunes library. So for example, just one that I know that's not in the iTunes library, the Beatles. I wonder if we can even find this. See, unofficial page for the Beatles. There will never be an official page for the Beatles. So this is actually a fan-made page. And I'm assuming because it's not, there will never be an official one because the Beatles haven't agreed to any sort of release digitally. So there's some people. There's a couple. There's only 3. That's fine. And then you've got your general stuff at the bottom. That's usually in everything else. So let's go and see if we can find some people to follow. See kind of how that works. So there's one. I'm a Weezer fan, so we'll hit follow on Weezer. And as soon as we follow, we see it comes up in recent activity, the last stuff that Weezer has posted in the last couple of days. Looks like they liked an album by Crash Kings. Getting a profile picture working. There's a new posting a link for the album in iTunes that they're coming out with. Some more like stuff. So I'm assuming as you start following more people, go through a few more. Follow Pearl Jam, and follow some 9 Inch Nails. Of course, I guess we have to follow people that would actually show up here. Jack Johnson, sure, why not? He's always at the things. We'll follow Katy Perry. I'm not a huge fan, but we'll just see what it looks like. So it's nice they can post a link directly to a song that you can buy directly from here. Really, looking at the interface, it's very basic. You've got some abilities where they can get in here and post a song. So like he posted a video here. If we tap on this, click on this, it comes up in a window, which is cool. It comes up right in the interface. Doesn't have to open anything else. Doesn't seem to be loading though. That's fine. And look like some pictures from a video. And it's a nice little photo album interface. That's very nice. It's pretty cool. But really, looking at this, it looks like the bastard stepchild of Facebook. I mean, really, looking at the comment lists, it looks like the Facebook stuff. I really, for me, I'm not seeing any reason to use this than anything else. If you're already in iTunes and you're not using something else, okay, that's great. And I'm sure Apple's going to improve on this, add more capabilities, doing all that kind of stuff. But it's not, it seems almost like a mashup of a few different things, but it doesn't seem to really do anything super well. Like I'm clicking on these videos. Oh, now this one's loading. So the video's loading up okay. So that loads up okay. And it shows when they start following people. I just can't see any use for this. I mean, really, you can do basically this exact same thing with Facebook using something like Last.fm or Last.fm and all that kind of stuff. The only thing that iTunes has going for it is it's got a large user base already. So they're gonna, people are gonna opt into this just to check it out. And that was one of the things they said 1 million people, or jumped in and tried Ping or used Ping the first day or whatever they said it was. Well, of course they did. It's something new. They're gonna go in and look at it and see what it is. It doesn't mean they're gonna keep using it. I mean, I'm now one of the however many people that have tried this. I'll probably never go in here again. There's no drawing factor that's any different than any other social networking site that's already out there. To me, anyway. I mean, maybe there is something different about it for other people, but I think I'll just stick with Last.fm. Zune Social, to me, as far as I've seen, seems a lot more integrated into the service and a lot more socially oriented rather than having to go to someplace special. It just kind of works. It's just kind of there, but you don't have to really deal with it a whole lot. Other people will be able to speak more to that than I would, because as I said, I'm not a Zune user. But I really think Zune is going to be the more mature. If you had to choose between the two, Zune's a more mature service. You're just not going to get it with iTunes. Last.fm has been around forever, and that's going to be a lot better too. I'm more of a fan of that, even if I do have to go to the site and everything. But it just seems to work better, and it's a lot more. You've got a lot more variety. You don't have to worry about whether iTunes carries the artist or not. There's artist pages there. They're already done. You don't have to worry about iTunes approving an artist page or the artist coming in. You may not get as much interaction because iTunes is going to get a lot more artist buy-in probably. It just doesn't seem like full-featured enough to actually use on a regular basis. If you guys have any questions, comments, post them down in the comments of this post, or on the YouTube page for this, and we'll get back to you. But hope you enjoyed a quick walkthrough on this, and it'll if you haven't already jumped in and tried Ping, it'll tell you whether it's really worth your time or not.